that the Prophet ﷺ said, يَأْتِ عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ يُسْتَحَلُّ خَمْسَةٌ بِخَمْسَةٍ. There's a time coming when 5 things will be made halal with the excuse of 5 other things. So 5 things will be deemed permissible with the excuse of 5 other things. And the first one he said was khamar. He said, يَسْتَحِلُّونَ الْخَمْرَ وَيُسَمُّونَهُ بِإِسْمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ. They'll call it some other name. He said, so they'll consider alcohol halal, but they'll call it some other name. And then he said that وَالسُّحْتَ بِالْهَدِيَّةِ, and bribery by calling it a gift. And then he said وَالْقَتْلَ بِالرَّهْبَةِ, and murder by calling it terror. Very interesting hadith from Ibn Abbas. وَالْقَتْلَ بِالرَّهْبَةِ وَالزِّنَا بِالنِّكَاحِ, illicit sexual relations by calling it marriage. It's very interesting. And then the last one was riba bil bay', and usury by calling it commerce. Right? So the nature of the world is that you're going to be in tribulation, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is to remember. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udhkuru ni'mati alaykum. Remember my blessings. When ta'uddu ni'matallahi la tahsuha. If you begin to reflect on the blessings of Allah, you can't enumerate them. And so when you reflect on the blessings instead of the tribulations, then it puts you in a state of gratitude. And this is why patience is really a means to gratitude. Because the highest maqam is gratitude in tribulation. And that was the maqam of the greats, and that's the maqam of the Prophet ﷺ. أَوَلَمْ أَكُنْ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Shouldn't I be a permanently grateful, always grateful? Shakur means they're always grateful. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Few of my servants are always grateful. Right? And Iblis, what does he say? He says, you'll find most of them aren't grateful. So Iblis knows that the way to get people away from God is to make them ingrates. And what does kufr really mean? It means ingratitude. And so when you're always complaining, then you're in a state of ingratitude, and Iblis is happy, and your Lord is not honored, because everything that he's giving you is a gift. The illness that he gives us is a gift. If we didn't bring it on ourselves, I mean, some illnesses, one of the sad things about a lot of people is, they eat horribly, and like people that eat sugar all the time, and then they get diabetes, and they say, oh, Allah's abtalani bi-sukkar. Right? Allah has tried me with sukkar. No, you gave yourself diabetes because you didn't watch your diet. Or you get really fat and overweight and you get type 2 diabetes. You shouldn't have been eating so much. Or you're always eating all these trans fats, and then the doctor tells you that your arteries are all blocked up. And then you say, Abtalani Allah. Why are you blaming that on God? But if you do everything right and then you get an illness, then that's an ibtila from Allah. Or you have parents that had genetic dispositions and you inherited those. That's a tribulation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best thing to do is be patient, or see it as the gift that it is, because everything that Allah gives us, the gift is there, it's hidden. And the more grateful we become, the easier it is to recognize those gifts. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْفَرَجَ مَعَ الْكَرْبِ, that the faraj comes with the difficulty. And that's why Sahaba preferred to be in tribulation, because they knew that the ease was coming. But when they were in ease, they knew the tribulation was coming, because that's the nature of the world. I was on this plane talking to this Moroccan, and we were just talking about what's happening in the world. And she said, "Ad-dunya ajala." This young Moroccan, she said, "The dunya is a wheel." And I said, "Asabti al-marma," you hit the bullseye. Because that's exactly what it is. It's the wheel of fortune. And one day you're up, and the next day you're down. And the secret is to get into that center. And that's where the Prophet ﷺ was. He was in the hub of the wheel. He did not get affected by the vicissitudes of time, what they call suruf al-dahr. He was in that hub. And so the tribulations, when they come, you have to see them for what they are. Al-faqatu, Ibn Atayla says, Al-faqatu busat al-mawahib. That faqa is intense need. So whenever you're in intense need, he said these are the carpets of divine gifts. They're the spread of divine gifts. Like they're spread out for you. All these intense times of need are gifts from Allah for you. That's what they are. Al-faqatu busat al-mawahib. And so that's the thing, is to see the gift, because it's hidden very often. You have to, it comes wrapped in tribulation. So you have to unwrap it and see what the gift is. It's not the tribulation. The tribulation is just the box the gift comes in. And then he says, وَظَلَامُ اللَّيْلِ لَهُ سُرُجٌ حَتَّى يَغْشَاهُ أَبُو السُّرُجِ. He said the dark night has those lights. The suruj are lights, the stars. So the dark night has those lights. They have those, you can see that it's not all dark. It's not all doom and gloom. If it was, people would commit suicide in large numbers. But people always have that hope. حَتَّى يَغْشَاهُ أَبُو السُّرُجِ, until the sun comes out. The sun is called Abu Suruj. It's the possessor of all the lights. Because when the sun comes out, all those other lights disappear. And so the calamity is there, but the calamity will come to an end. And so one of the things of the sunan is that there's what is called tadarraj fi kashf al-mihna, that the tribulation comes, it will be removed in stages. It's not always removed immediately. It's when you have one of the things about healing, when you have a wound or something like that, it heals over time. And each stage is important. There's people that have, like, if they get a cut and then they get the scab, they want to pull the scab off. But the scab is necessary for the wound, because it's granulating underneath that scab. There's new flesh that's coming. And so if you pull it off, you're going to scar it. You're not allowing the natural process of healing. You're trying to hasten something. And that's one of the things that من استعجل الأمر دون أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. It's a قاعدة فقهية, but it can be used for a lot of things. That if you try to hasten something that's not meant to come yet, then you're deprived of that very thing that you're trying to hasten. The example they always give in the books of usul is من قتل والده حرم من الوراثة. That if you kill your father, you don't get the inheritance. Just you have to wait. There's people that they're waiting for the inheritance, but you can't hasten it. If you do, then you're deprived of it. The same is true for, like, this coup was an attempt to hasten something that will naturally happen. No government lasts forever. No ruler lasts forever. Everybody has to die. But you don't have the permission to try to hasten something. This is one of the things that happen in the Muslim world with the revolts against a lot of these rulers. And I know there's difference of opinion about that, but the dominant Sunni tradition is tahrim al-khuruj ala al-hakim. And people get very angry when you say that now because they're Marxists. There are all these Marxist Muslims out there. But it's just Marxism. If you know where a lot of the modern political ideologies in the Muslim world came from, if you know history and you know Marxism, then you'll see where they came from. They're Marxist ideas that were introduced into the Islamic discourse. And that happens. There's a lot of Greek ideas that came into the Islamic discourse. Some of them were good, some of them were negative. Marxism is not all evil. There was some very positive aspects to Marxism. It wouldn't have caught on like it did if there wasn't a lot of truth in it. But there were other aspects of it. The end justifies the means, that people don't count, what counts is the goal, and that people are reified. There's this idea, something called humanity, that doesn't exist. Humanity is aggregate of individuals. And if you think people are just pawns in your game, that we can eliminate all these people for some greater good, you can kill 5,000 Iraqi children and consider it an acceptable, like Madeleine Albright, when she was asked, do you think that's an acceptable price to pay to achieve your goals? Yes, we do. And that's how they calculate things like collateral damage, which is, collateral damage is a nice way of saying innocent people got killed. That's what it is. So they take into consideration, if we bomb this place, we're probably going to kill 10,000 civilians. Is that worth the objective? They say yes. Sharia says no. You can't kill innocent people for some greater good, because the end doesn't justify the means. The means have to be consistent with the end. If it's a noble end, it has to have noble means. And that's a very different world, but it's a noble world, and it's a world of chivalry and a different world that the modern world has. The ancients just had a different concept of it. And you can read the Iliad to see that. The Iliad, they were horrified by it, even though there are very horrible things in there, and they had different concepts of morality. But they definitely had an idea that warriors should fight on battlefields and fight in noble ways.